joining us right now on the show. He's been on this show before. Always great to chat it up with a guy that I grew up with watching on television, right? Watching on Part 5. And of course, the cult classic Mallrats. Last time he appeared, it was he and his brother. Now, Jeremy joining us right now on the program. Jeremy, it is good to see you, my friend, as always. How are you?
I am fantastic, my friend. So good to be back. What a time we live in, huh?
Yes.
What
Jeremy,
a time to be alive.
That would be an understatement, wouldn't it? I have to ask you this. I don't know. Would you accept a $400 million gift from Qatar? I don't know. Is that acceptable to you?
If I was the president?
Yeah.
No. First of all, it's kind of, it just feels like it's a flying, spying, big giant microphone with wings. I can't imagine, or, they it's just way too easy to rig that stuff. And it's just it looks terrible. The president, first of all, it's going to take them years to retrofit it. And then they're just going to give it to him to fly around in with all of the missile capability, like defense capabilities and all of the special stuff that comes with what it takes to make Air Force One.
And Jeremy, I find it interesting that, it was Jared Kushner that received $2.1 billion from the Saudis. Now it appears as though Trump is accepting a $400 million gift, and we're expected to believe he's not going to continue to use it after he leaves office. But yet, MAGA Republicans still want to talk about Burisma and Hunter Biden selling artwork. I just find it so hypocritical and so disgusting. They'll talk about the Hillary Clinton Foundation and, but yet when it comes to all these bribes and I find it also interesting that this comes in the same week with that Syria deal. And meanwhile, a former Al-Qaeda member was talking about building a Trump Tower there. And then a week later, all of a sudden, we have this deal with Syria. I just find it interesting. These MAGA Republicans forget about all this stuff.
Yeah, don't we have a $10 million bounty out on the guy that he's talking about having making a Trump Tower? And I think that we've gone past the point of idiocracy now. The chickens are going to come home to roost. People do think that this is going to be 4 years of nonsense. I do believe the midterms are going to be a bloodbath for the Republicans. And so a lot of this is going to come to fruition. I don't know what we're going to have to deal with in the meantime. But Trump will never step foot inside that airplane. That will never fly as the airplane for the American president.
I agree. So, Jeremy, I agree with what you just said. My concern, though, is this is a bribe in a sense that he's probably going to use that plane after he leaves office. That's my concern. And my question to everybody is, what are we giving up in return? When I mean Donald Trump. What is he giving up in return to accept a $400 million gift?
I can't even fathom, brother. I mean, we already saw he just lifted sanctions off of, was it Syria that he lifted the sanctions on?
Right.
And, the quid pro quo is so out in the open now. And you have Pam Bondi, who was getting paid $115,000 a month from Qatar before. And then she's the one signing off on this, saying that this is okay, completely nullifying the Constitution and ignoring the Constitution. At what point? The problem is that Trump hasn't gotten in trouble for anything really yet. And so why should he not accept this? Why should he not continue to do everything he's doing? Why should he not continue to line his pockets? He doesn't pay the price for anything. The only lesson that he has learned is that he can do anything and get away with it. And not only that he will have the sycophantic, literally people in Congress, the people that are supposed to be our safeguards, the people that are supposed to be protecting us and our futures and our children. He knows that they're going to lie for him, and they're going to continue to allow him to make a mockery of our democracy.
I remember, Jeremy, the first time I had you on this show, and it was during right after the Democrat National Convention, where Tim Walz made a great speech. Looks like he has a lovely family, and one of his kids is a special needs child. And remember all the people on the right that were mocking this child for crying and loving his dad. And you have a grandbaby who is also a special needs child. And I think of the Trump administration today and where we've come since then. and since that day, where he's still doing the same thing. They're going after vulnerable people, brown people in this country, no due process, women who are literally breastfeeding their children and are being separated from their children. They're literally deporting 4-year-old children who have cancer with no due process, while it's amazing to me. Maybe it's a coincidence, but 10 people that all happen to be white that are brought into this country from South Africa. That's totally okay. But if you're a brown person in this country, we're going to deport you if you have a tattoo saying mom and dad on your chest. But yet the guy Pete Hegseth, who happens to be the second in command with our nuke codes, is the guy who has a tattoo that says 100% white. I just think they continue to go after the most vulnerable people in this country. And it sickens me, Jeremy.
The thing is that what keeps me sane, what keeps me from just completely losing it, is that this idiocracy has a shelf life. I know people don't think it does, and they think, oh, he's going to be in office forever. No, he's not. He's not going to be able to be in office forever. The midterms are going to be a blood. This is all going to come back and bite them all in the ass. This is not being forgotten. Jack Smith is in The Hague keeping track of all of this and all of the moving parts, all of the people, the individual people that are a part of this. There's going to be a comeuppance of some kind. I mean, look, I'm not a religious person, but one thing that I do know is that the universe and karma are real, and the way that the universe deals with karma is very real and ever present. And this isn't going to turn out well for them. I'm worried about the damage they're going to do in the meantime.
Right? Yeah, as am I. Isn't it interesting, Jeremy, that you hear Donald Trump types call about the liberal elitists in Hollywood, yet if you go to Mar-a-Lago, those are the people who Donald Trump hangs out with. And by the way, his administration is worth somewhere around $60 billion. That does not include Elon Musk. $60 billion. He only hangs out with tech billionaires and people who look like him, maybe with not as much orange makeup. But if you go to Mar-a-Lago, they stand up and they applaud him any room he walks into, and they all look like him. They're all rich billionaires and white people. So do you find it interesting that so many on the MAGA right attack, I would imagine, still many of your friends that you have in Hollywood that are in your business?
Yeah, it's all projection. At this point, it's like monkeys slinging poop and kids saying nanny nanny boo. It's so childish and impetuous, and also indicative of what they're doing. And so at this point, any kind of accusation is just an admission. And so it's kind of just easy to tell what they're up to, because as soon as they start pointing the fingers and calling people names and saying that, accusing people of doing something, they're doing it. And so they don't know how to, the discreet, it's the whole, if you have the truth on your side, you pound the truth. You have the law on your side, you pound the law. If you have neither, you pound the table. And that's all these idiots do is, if you throw truth at them, they call you gay or libtard, or say that you have Trump derangement syndrome, which is just so just the funniest thing to me. There's a dude down the road who has his entire van plastered in Donald Trump with muscles and all of this, the dumb stuff, the AI stuff. And that guy will call us deranged, and so at this point, what does it mean? It means nothing if you don't allow it to. And it's getting weaker, you know what I mean? Because they're getting more desperate, and it's kind of just all repeating the same nonsense over and over and over. And what's happening now is he's making moves that are actually starting to irk the right a little bit, and they're starting to wake up a little bit, because there's enough people that are mad about this airplane thing that are just like, what, Ben Shapiro and these guys that are just, like, you can't, this is a bad look, and
I just don't understand. I agree with everything you said, Jeremy. And by the way, I was called Trump derangement syndrome guy on the Piers Morgan show just the other day. This is their go-to. They call me a liberal. They say I have Trump derangement syndrome. Let's talk a little bit about Ben Shapiro for a moment. And by the way, I'm embarrassed that we have the same last name, because I have nothing in common with this little weasel.
It's unfortunate. Let me plug my phone in real quick. 1 second. One second.
Sure.
So sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good. So I want to talk a little bit today about Derek Chauvin. And the reason why I want to bring up Derek Chauvin and Ben Shapiro is a part of this is because Derek Chauvin there's rumblings that he is going to be pardoned. And yes, there are state charges, and the law says it's virtually impossible to pardon somebody by the president on state charges unless the governor of Minnesota signs off on it. Obviously, Tim Walz.
Who's the governor of Minnesota?
Tim Walz, yeah. Right. But however, there is still litigation in the works. Chauvin is trying to get another trial. He's trying to erase the fact of the plea deal. So his attorneys are in the works and doing certain things. And all I'm saying is this: if he does get a pardon, that could accelerate things, and maybe he does get a new trial. It's not good. And it sends a message, just like his message when he pardoned a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists, some of whom beat police officers. It sends a message that if you're white and you commit horrible crimes, and in this case, murder, as long as you got my back, then you're going to get a free jail pass. And I just think it would be a horrible precedent, even if he doesn't get out of jail. Horrible, the message that's being sent.
Well, what does Trump need to happen more than anything right now? What he wants to happen is he wants to be able to declare martial law, right? And the only way he's going to declare martial law is if he instigates riots. If there's a reason to riot, then he has a reason to do, to make these horrible moves that he wants to make. And so they know, I don't know if it's him, it's, Stephen Miller and all those other evil pricks. They all are not idiots, Steve Bannon and those guys. They know that even just talking about it right now is getting people riled up and getting the fervor going and getting people, and that if there's if that were to happen, that there will be riots in the streets,
I can't believe I'm going to ask you this question because I don't think I've ever asked anybody this question yet, but I'm getting to the point now where I think it's an important question to ask. Do you think in the next 3.5 years we could be facing some sort of civil war here?
Nah, I really don't. Like I said, if I'll compare it to the whole 100 men versus a gorilla thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe the first 2 guys will be brave. Maybe the first couple of people will be brave. But whenever the actual army comes in and starts mowing down people with, drones and stuff and taking care of people with real military force and all of that, it'll be squashed pretty quickly. Not to mention, most of them are the MEAL Team 6 guys. They look, you know what I mean? We're not talking about, grade A soldiers here anyway. The crop that would want to do it would be pretty easy to put down, I think. But I just don't think that it's ever going to go that far. I think it's fun the rhetoric is fun to them. It gets their juices going. I call it hate meth. It's that hate meth. They get off on just the idea and the fantasy of it. Yeah. It's why they are alone in their rooms with their fat pouring out of their safety vests and pulling their guns out and pretending to be, soldiers in the mirror. It's the same thing. Yeah. When it comes down to it, there's no way one man is going to approach and start, even if there's 100 men behind him, the one guy in the front is not going to attack a gorilla. It's not, you know what I mean? Right. The reality. It's like when those idiots threatened to storm the place with the aliens out there. Area 51.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, when they showed up and they realized, oh no, we're gonna die. Nobody storms.
I tend to agree with you on that. I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm curious. Let's rewind 20, 25 years. Let's rewind to the days of your days of Mallrats and Party of Five. I'm wondering, when you're in your mid-20s and if somebody approached you and said, hey, Jeremy, in 20, 30 years from now, we're going to have this guy in office who's a 34-count felon and an adjudicated rapist that's going to be running the country. I'm curious, what do you think you would have said back then?
Gosh, I had my problems with Bush Jr., and what was going over in Iraq. Sure. And we thought that was kind of going to be the ceiling for stupidity and kind of idiocy that would ever make it in, and it would make and it would be, that nepotism would be the only reason that the idiot made it into office.
Yeah.
I used to believe that we truly were a progressive country, and we were the sort of the top of the mountain, you
Mhm.
know, because my American elitism made me believe that, and needed me, and I don't know, that want and desire for it to be true was always there.
Mhm.
Not to mention, I was making a lot of money and I was on TV shows, and so my life was quite privileged. So it was easy for me to live in that ethosphere of, oh, everything's wonderful, right? But I haven't lived like that in 20 years.
Mhm.
I mostly paint for a living now. I love
Right.
it,
You're a
I
great
love it.
artist, by the way. I've seen
Thank you.
some of your work.
Thank you. I still make movies and I do all that, and I do the things that I love, but I don't, it's not what I rely on for my life. But what's the reason politics became important to me is because I'm a father and a grandfather. Because we have a world we have to leave to our children.
Yeah.
And a legacy, right? The one thing
Yeah.
that I can say is that I'm so happy that my sons will look back, and my grandchild and children will look back in history and know that I was on the right side of history.
Yes. That's
because
important.
this all does have a shelf life.
Yes.
This is all going to end. This is all going to end at some point. Trump is going to die, or he's going to be gone, whatever. It's going to end for them. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot of people that go, I never really believed all that and didn't like the guy, and blah, 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 blah,
That's a good point. We all know that
But-
we're going to be on the right side of history, and they are not. I don't know if you've ever worked with or spoken to people like a James Woods or a Mel Gibson, obviously both extreme MAGA Trump supporters. What do you make about them? And do you think they're genuine in their feelings towards Trump and what's happening in this country?
Oh, yeah. Well, hate is a universal language. It has nothing to do with, and, especially whenever you're talking about people that are privileged and elitist already and feel like they sort of deserve to be treated better than other people. Like, there are some celebrities that buy into the whole thing that they are better than everybody else. I'm not one of them. I've never bought into that. I've never been comfortable with it. That's why I live in, Mississippi and Florida. I don't live anywhere near Los Angeles. I got the hell out of there. I've never been comfortable with any of that, but there are some people that are just horrible people. It doesn't matter where you come from. Just because they're actors doesn't mean they're any different than the group of plumbers down the road that half of them are wonderful guys and half of them are racist pricks. The group of librarians, one of them's going to have some racist beliefs. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
You're right.
Statistically,
You're right.
the problem is that celebrities have a platform to where they can actually, where people can see it, and that's always, there's going to be a record of all of that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like when the chickens do come home to roost, there's going to be a record of all of these people that he licked his boots,
Yeah. No, you're right. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, whether you're an actor, a celebrity, a radio host. There's plenty of racist bigots that are radio hosts. We had somebody by the name of Rush Limbaugh, who, in my opinion, cancer might have killed him, but he was a cancer to society. And Fox Noise,
a horrible person.
Oh, terrible, terrible, Jeremy. I agree with you. The day after he died, I went on a conservative radio show and I bashed him. And then the bosses said, no, you can't do that. I said, I just did. And then soon after I quit, now I started to do the show here. So
good for you, man. That's why we love you. That's why we love you. Because you do that. Because you are the militant voice. You're not, man, I'll tell you what, if I have to look at Chuck Schumer one more time. We've sent him a very strong letters, and we're gonna make him answer those really it's 8 questions.
That's really good. If they ever do a documentary, The Life of Chuck Schumer, they better hire you.
I don't think I could be paid to be that bored.
Jeremy London, the new impersonator. Oh, that was pretty good. I'm impressed by that.
I can't fathom just what, like, if the Dems are ever going to battle against the the entirety of the ugliness, it unfortunately it takes being somewhat a little bit being willing to be a little bit ugly back. This playing nice thing is never going to, it's not going to keep working. It hasn't worked up till now. It's not going to keep working. There's a way to do it without calling people gay and belittling them and stuff like that. All you have to do is just show them their works. There's a way to do it by saying, do you hear what you're saying? Do you understand, like, that the things that are coming out of your mouth are all your, it's ultimate stupidity. What did Trump said something today about that he doesn't like stealth because he doesn't like, because it's ugly.
Right. He said a lot of crazy things just every day, is particularly in the last 24 hours, praising an Al-Qaeda, former Al-Qaeda terrorist. And it seems like an everyday thing. Jeremy, before I let you go, as I mentioned, you are a great artist. Is there a way that people can buy your work? Like, where do they go? I don't even know if you sell it.
Oh, man, that's so nice. I do. I sell all my Twitter, Sir Jeremy London. Follow me on Twitter. That's the best way. Or Blue Sky at Sir Jeremy London. I really, I kind of just post them on Twitter, and I've been fortunate enough to kind of keep it going there. I need to get a website. I know I do. I'm sorry, folks. But if you just go to my Twitter feed, you can scroll down. Or the best place is probably Blue Sky, actually, because I kind of only post my paintings there, really, and so they're more consolidated. So it's better if you go to Blue Sky, Sir Jeremy London, you can see my paintings, and then hit me up on Twitter or Blue Sky. And I take commissions. I tell people just to make me an offer based on what they can afford, along with what it means to them. I'm not one of those people that slaps big prices on art and all.
Well, I'm waiting for the I'm waiting for the bald Brian self-portrait, so I'll definitely buy that one.
Nice.
Jeremy, you're the best, man. I love you, brother. I appreciate it.
Love you too, my friend.
We'll have you on again soon.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, man. Keep hearing voices like yours. You're important, and keep going, my friend. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, brother. Keep up the work.
That. Thank you, Jeremy. That's Jeremy London, everybody. I grew up with his movies, and of course, he was on Party of Five. He's just a good dude. And I really, by the way, that impersonation of Chuck Schumer, I have to say, that was really good. I didn't know Jeremy could do impersonations. That was really, really good. I didn't put him on the spot. Maybe I'll ask him to do his Donald Trump impersonation next time. But Jeremy London, everybody. Pretty awesome having him on the show. And Jeremy's a fan of this show. He watches it a lot. So that's how we met. So I appreciate Jeremy taking the time to join us.